Hace 204 años, Robert Owen
204 years. Robert Owen was horrified at the fact that workers were working 18-hour shift, and he proposed the current 8-hour shift, 8 hours for rest, 8 hours for labor, and 8 hours for recreation. His proposal would be passed in Spain 102 years after, 102 years ago, after a 44-day strike by the CNT. And today we have with us Caroline Day, Robert Owen's wife, mother of his 8 sons and daughters. Welcome, Caroline.
about those 8 hours for recreation. Well, so much depends upon una esposa Sísifo levantando la vida.
A Sisyphus wife raising life along the slopes of feeding and hygiene to meet again.
Vaya, yes, el triángulo perfecto era just for men.
The perfect triangle was
No contábamos horas de trabajo.
we did not count the working hours for our husbands to have
8 hours rest, 8 hours recreation. I am a wife and a mother. Taking care of my 8 children is an act of love. There's no work involved. It's not political, it's not political, it's not political. Según un estudio,
according to a German study from 2014, sleep hours are directly proportional to social class. Because there are people who can buy care. Because money allows, as it used to be the case of marriage, to skip the fourth side of the triangle. But let's listen to the conclusions of the National Health Survey in Spain from 2017. All neuropsychiatric mobility indicators showed a gradient according to the social and economic class that was deeper in women. And this higher morbidity in women and in lower classes was perfectly shown in the consumption of psycho drugs, but not so much in the use and access of mental health services. 16 years ago, it's been for 16 years, suicides have been killing more people than road accidents. And there are signs and radars everywhere for you to stop driving above 120 kilometers an hour. So what are we waiting to mend a mistake in the calculation that overlooked the care work, this fourth side of the triangle? Let's stop saying, I'm exhausted. Let's stop looking for the individual cause of exhaustion. They call it work-life balance, as if life and work had fallen out, but the teacher could take them to a quiet corner in the playground where to say, sorry, and hold hands. Let's stop having fantasies and saying, I need 25-hour days, 30-hour days, because I hope that the market will never decide the duration of the Earth's rotation. Let's look into the eye of people in the metro corridors. We're not the Walking Dead sequel. We are the sequel of the calculation of men who were idle at home. This will never be an equilateral triangle because it was never, never, never a triangle. Let's picture the possibilities that had been waiting for us on the other side of exhaustion. Let's finally understand the numbers of taking care of life and experiencing life. 8 hours to dream while sleeping, 16 hours awake to distribute labor, money and life. And there's so much needed idling around and whatever we want in that quadrilateral. Thank you.
Bon dia, benvingudes.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Barcelona Time Newsweek. Adriana's poem is a great point of departure to frame the whole purpose of this seminar, a reflection on how we organize our time, which is a right which will allow us to enjoy life quite aside from the time we have to dedicate to working or sleeping, and the important variable of gender, which should allow us to eliminate inequalities when it comes to the right to use of time. Based on that and based on the policies which should foster this right, we shall hear from the first speaker of the first panel, time and inequalities. I would like to ask the speakers to come up to we have the following ones. Francesc Pont, Barcelona Time Youth Initiative Health Society, Adriana Montserrat Ballarín, the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona. Unfortunately, she'll be Jaume Collboni will not be able to attend, and she'll be sitting in for him. Teresa Llorenç, Coordinator of Equality of the Barcelona Provincial Council. And Tania Verge, who is the Regional Minister of the Generalitat of Catalonia.
Sí, pues, molt bé. Molt bé. Doncs el primer ponent en...
Okay, the first speaker, and who will talk to us about the right to time and time use policies and time poverty, will be Joan Francesc Pont. Thank you.
Bon dia.
Good morning, dear Regional Minister, dear authorities, dear friends involved in time use policies and who are with us either here in person to person, face to face, or online and with simultaneous interpretation. Today, as members of the institutional driving group, for all the institutions which are part of the strategy of the Time Use Initiative, let me explain to you just three things. Number one, the trajectory. Secondly, the main novelties of Time Use Week this year. And thirdly, rights and inequalities of time. Let me mention the bodies which form part of this initiative. The Generalitat of Catalonia, the regional government, the City Council of Barcelona, the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona, the Provincial Council, the Diputació, Diplocat, the consortium of the Universidad Internacional Menéndez Pelayo, founded by Ernest Lluch, the European Commission and the European Parliament offices in the city of Barcelona. As you well know, since 2019, time use brings up the legacy of the initiative for a timetable initiative and wishes to make the use of time a right for all citizens. In that sense, 4 years ago, we initiated a reflection on how we could contribute with experience, Catalan experience and local experience, to talk about the policies of time, a part of the global agenda to improve the welfare of citizens. And we have worked to that end. In 3 years, the Time Use Week is a key week at an international level, and Catalonia and Barcelona are an international benchmark for their policies in terms of time use. Much remains to be done to achieve the dreams which are ours, but it's a good starting point. There are more than 600 of us gathered here today. This week will contribute to ensure that many people, many organizations can visualize the right to time as a political right, which must be recognized by institutions, organizations, and all citizens and all public opinion, because it will bring greater happiness, productivity, and sustainability to all. The Time Use Week is the main international event dedicated to promote knowledge in terms of time policy. And we have the participation of researchers, political institutions, local agents, and citizens from all over the world. And at the end of the day, each of us are, if you like, players in time use initiatives. And of course, it is a matter of common interest as well as global interest. As we have many representatives of the media here, let me mention the 5 headlines and then dwell a bit more on that. Number 1, the central subject of this year's Time Use Week, time and inequality, brings these 2 factors into play, which is one of the superior values of our legal setting. And we shall listen to experts on time use inequality. That'll start later on today. We have more than 120 speakers lined up for the first time. All territories of Catalonia will participate. Between the 24th and 20th of October, tomorrow on Tuesday, we shall hear the General Assembly of local councils for Time Use Week, and Barcelona is the, if you like, the capital city of this matter. And then we shall talk on Thursday of the proposal which can be made to ensure that Spain is the first country in the world to have a law on time uses and timetabling rationalization, which allow us to lead a more balanced life. These are 4 sides of the triangle, as we have heard from the poet, non-remunerated work and other matters. The subject of this year's edition, rights and inequalities. To conclude, let me explain why this year's edition will look at inequalities and why it is centering on deploying the values of rights and the disadvantages of inequalities. There's some data here. In Catalonia, there's a matter of time poverty, time impoverishment. During working days, women spend more than double of their time to domestic activities, to housework, many more hours than men, and this leads to a greater time impoverishment of women. In Spain, time impoverishment of the population as a whole is 2.1 of the population to 21% of the population. The speaker corrects himself, pursuant to data of the time use survey at a national level, at a state level. So the 21% of the population, basically women and with less resources, have less free time during the day after dedicating many of their hours to work at home or in care. This affects productivity, affects equality. In Europe currently, 75% of the European population works part-time, are women, and the main reason is to be able to take care of the home. A key issue is in terms of having right to time, is to be independent, autonomous concerning your time. A high percentage of working people believe they have no autonomy to organize their working time. And socially, these are people with more routine type of tasks. Spain is one of the countries where there's less autonomy in terms of time. And if we look at how much free time we have, well, that's one thing. The other thing is a psychological perception of how time we have. And that is even less. You get the impression you have no time at all. So for all those reasons, Time Use Week this year wishes to dwell upon how to cut back these disequalities and ensure that all citizens have a use of time, a decent use of time. So with that, I'd like to wish you an excellent seminar, excellent week. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Now let's hear Montserrat Ballarín, who shall talk on behalf of the Metropolitan Area of Barcelona and the City Council.
Molt bon dia.
Good morning, everyone. The truth is, it's a great pleasure to be able to participate in the opening session of this Time Use Week in this delightful area of the city of Barcelona, and to be able to do so face to face. A great participation here in the hall, and even greater participation on the other side of the screen, if you like, but to do it with a more normalcy than we'd seen in previous years. Today, I am speaking to you as the Deputy President of Economic Development Area of the City Council of Barcelona, and also on the City Council of Barcelona, because Mr. Jaume Collboni, the Deputy Mayor, for personal reasons, has not been able to attend. We only found out about that a short while ago, and I shall speak on behalf of the City of Barcelona, which has the honor to be the world capital of time during the year 2022-2023, the first world capital of time. And there is a commitment on the part of the city of Barcelona, which is borne out by our presence here during the opening session of this important week. I think that Barcelona, in Barcelona we have worked hard to ensure that we were appointed capital city of time use, and we deserve it. We've spent many, many years involved in this battle for time. I would like to remind you that in 2008 set up a specific section or department on time use. We were pioneers in Spain, also pioneers in setting up a network of companies committed with time management. There's a yearly award to companies which undertake a commitment to improve their time management. And these companies also work as a network and are recognized on a yearly basis to ensure that we have these pioneering initiatives to help their workers to improve time use. Therefore, the city of Barcelona obviously is proud of being present here, and we are also delighted as head of the metropolitan area of Barcelona of participating in this week, which is a great opportunity to increase awareness and to highlight actions on time use management. We are living through times when it's difficult to achieve consensus. And all this commitment concerning the regulation of time use and improving time use policies to combat time poverty and increase an efficient use of time, well, we're all involved in that battle, both from the private sector, from other stakeholders, trade unions, public administrations, public decision makers. And I am convinced that the fact that we're all in there is a guarantee that this will work and work well, and our fruits will bear fruition. So I'd like to thank all the other institutions who are working together with Barcelona and the metropolitan area of Barcelona to turn Barcelona into a universal benchmark in this respect. As a metropolitan area, let me remind you that we wish to set up a metropolis which is competitive, but is also egalitarian, which is also inclusive. And in competitiveness, inclusiveness, and egalitarianism, everything has to do with time policies and time use policies. No one is redundant. Everyone is needed. And if we look through our current crisis, the energy crisis, raw materials crisis, inflation, all this affects people, affects human beings, people who have a given gender, socioeconomic status, and based on that and your background, you have greater or lesser chances of being a victim of this crisis. They are the ones who have less access to time use policies, time use equality policies, and basically are women. We are wishing to create a city of proximity where neighborhoods are 15 minutes from each other, and the same applies to the metropolitan area, 45 minutes away from each other. And we want a city and a metropolitan area which is approximate, which we can all access easily. And that is important, obviously, in environmental terms, for environmental sustainability, but it's also important to achieve a vital balance, a life work balance, where people have a greater quality of life in their day-to-day lives. Furthermore, what are we doing currently from the metropolitan area of Barcelona to ensure that this, if you like, battle reaches fruition? Well, we are working to set up a metropolitan pact for time. We're working together to create this pact for time, this covenant for time, if you like. And we are always working with other councils, and we would like this pact to be solid, to be robust, which allows us to govern and manage time at a metropolitan level. There's a clear will to be useful, to be practical, to be operative, and to that end, we are using specific methodologies which are based on experience, on knowledge, which has emerged in different municipalities, and which will be a methodology which is highly participatory. And you know that the fact that something is participatory doesn't mean that the participation is effective. In this case, in this instant, both happily coincide. People do participate, and it is participatory or participative. Well, how are we doing that? Together with officials from different municipalities and different councils who are working on time use with different tools. Number one, we have the Metropolitan Panel for Time, where we can share good practices with a view to setting up supra-municipal policies. But we also have an important task force, and we are proud to have them amongst us, because quite apart from Barcelona, Esplugues, Sant Cugat, and Sant Boi, these are municipalities which have been highly committed with everything which has to do with time policies. These municipalities are part and parcel of the task force, this Metropolitan Time Use Task Force. We're also working with a study which will analyze what's the current state of time policies in different areas, looking at trade, productive fabric, new world of care, education, sport, mobility. And from this study, we hope to see emerging strategies, identifying issues, and the strategies to overcome them with a view to continuous improvement. Why are we doing that? Because we believe that in the world of time, strategies of each councils, municipal strategies, are essential, are vital, but they're not enough. We live in a metropolitan area where one person sleeps in one, the council works in a different city and takes their kids to schools in a third municipality, where we have to take a metropolitan view, not just limit ourselves to the city limits, the strict limits. As Joan Francesca has made it quite clear. Here we are not just talking of organizing time, we're also talking of many other matters, including health. Therefore, we would like to continue working in this Metropolitan Pact to provide support to different councils, to consolidate time policies, which will help us to think how we move around the territory to lead to transformation, to organize new life forms. And we want this pact to be aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, and also take an inclusive egalitarian approach. And the best way, I think, is to dedicate this whole week to these thoughts, these reflections. Thank you ever so much. And let us trust and hope that this is a very fruitful week to think about cities which to be global, but also have to be thought of at a human level. Thank you very much.
Donem pas ara a la Teresa Llorenç,
So we will now hand it over to Teresa Llorenç, who coordinates the social inclusion area at the City Council of Barcelona. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, allow me to apologize on behalf of MP Moret, but the Barcelona Provincial Council wanted to be here this morning with us. So good morning, everyone. We believe it's important to keep discussing time uses and to make time policies because we believe that precisely time uses generate and replicate inequalities. So the topic that we are discussing here in this Time Use Week is a hot and essential topic. At the Barcelona Provincial Council, we work with the 311 municipalities of the Barcelona province, and in our province, the inequalities are made apparent. The inequalities in time uses, which means that 80% of those people who are caregivers are women and are in need of emotional support, and they have been taking care of people for over 10 hours a day. And most people who have to ask for some rest are women. We're talking about mothers of children with disabilities or daughters of elderly people who depend on them. So here we have an initial snapshot of gender inequalities in terms of the social structuring or organization of care work. And this time poverty has the face of a woman, but it also has implications regarding the social class and background. It's been shown that women and lower classes have less access to a healthy time and less autonomy regarding their time management. So we're talking about precarious jobs, there's no availability of care work, and there's uncertainty vis-a-vis their daily life and the future. I was mentioning some figures, but I'd like to highlight the quality side of time. A time that is lived in unwanted loneliness, that time is not fully enjoyed. And that is the reality of many elderly people and many old women who live on their own. And unfortunately, they have a weak social network to support them. So we need time for life, for care work, and for rest, leisure, social engagement, and we need opportunities to experience that time in a more healthy and fulfilled and active manner, in a connected and committed way. And as I mentioned, well, as Monse mentioned before, the municipalities, the local environment, well, we need to be spaces of time and opportunity. And time policies must be part and parcel of the local agendas. So we should work as we have been doing here for a long time now. We must work together, all administrations, and not only administrations, but also with society to reduce the inequalities in time use. We need to network. And locally, we have been working for a long time highlighting the daily life and the role that time plays there. Someone said that this network was promoted when Imma Moraleda was a city councillor at the Barcelona City Council and also a member of the Barcelona Provincial Council. And with this network of cities and municipalities for new time users, this was food for thought, and it was a space of discussion for the Barcelona province municipalities regarding time uses and their impact locally. Today, the network of regional and local governments for time use policies, and of course, we belong to that network as a member too, and all municipalities of the Barcelona province. Well, it's another excellent example as to how these recognition spaces and exchange spaces can be generated. We can generate knowledge and time use policies. And I'd like to recognize, acknowledge, and congratulate the work of the network for this new political time use agenda. And of course, it has to be locally rooted. And along these lines, as the Barcelona Provincial Council, we are fully engaged and committed to develop and support municipalities in the Barcelona province to develop these local policies. And in that same sense, we have been working on social innovation in local policy making. And we've done this through transformational projects that we have coordinated. I will only point out a couple of them today. One has to do with neighborhoods and communities as social transformation engines. There's an urban social intervention included in socially complex districts, and we do it focusing on the social side of things. So we promote socialization spaces. We try to offer facilities in public spaces to promote new time uses to improve coexistence and equal opportunities. And I'd like to focus on another transformational project that we've been able to share with Sarah and Gemma. We have been working hand in hand with them in this term to achieve a new public care system for all communities. We wanted to promote a political statement to achieve caring municipalities and communities. We already have about 100 municipalities of the Barcelona province who have joined the initiative, and we are allocating resources to focus on the responsibility of time uses and care work. And finally, I'd like to highlight the value of the Time Use Week to be able to strengthen and improve time use policies. This year, is very significant for all of us because it can bring about a new strategic perspective on time use policies. We need the right to time. It must be a citizen's right. It must be acknowledged that everyone is entitled to healthy time, sustainable time on an equal footing. And these will make us or allow us to make headway to a more egalitarian society because we will have increased well-being, participation and sustainability. So gatherings like this one today or today and throughout this week allow us to converge in our different visions and perspectives. I'm talking about scientific one, the public one, the unions one, and social organizations and the international perspective. And that is a golden opportunity to exchange knowledge, to build alliances, and to transform. So, as the Barcelona Provincial Council, we definitely join ourselves to this time use week, and we have high hopes in terms of our ability to transform time uses and therefore lives and reduce inequalities. Thank you very much.
I ja per cloure l'acte,
To bring this opening panel to an end, we will hear from Tania Berja, Regional Minister of Equalities and Feminisms at the Generalitat of Catalonia. Good morning, everyone. Authorities, representatives of organizations and social institutions, researchers who are here face to face or connected online. We have been discussing the right to time as a new citizen's right, but we know how it works. For rights to be acknowledged, well, first they need to be legitimate. People have to take ownership of that right. And I think that the right to time is a very tangible one. It's very easy to see that it's not an individual need, but a shared one because our mental and physical health are at stake. We're talking about sleep hours. It's not only work-life balance, and as Ariadne Bertrand, the poet, mentioned, as if they had fallen out. No, we're talking about quality time here, quality time with others, and those can be our relatives or the people we take care of, our friends. We're talking about a livable life. We are talking about doing remote work if we have the possibility, but also the right to disconnect. We are talking about so many elements that we all see very clearly, and we see the impact they have on our lives and how the current time use organization and structure does not result in that. When we discuss rights, and of course, all the panelists in this opening panel know this, they have to be guaranteed. Um, Rights have to be tangible, have to be specific and turn into actions. And I believe that all institutions represented here and all stakeholders know that this is quite a difficult right to guarantee because we're talking about a cultural revolution. We are talking about a very radical transformation of the way we have been organized as a society, as families, as companies, as businesses. So it's not only a law that has to be made, and of course the state should do its part because they have the main power in that sense. Because when we try to promote laws from Catalonia, they are partially suspended, but it's a cultural change that has to do with our daily life organization. And of course, that means to transform care work and understand it as part and parcel of our lives. I'm sure that you have heard from us, from the Honorable President or other members of the government. We talk about the full transformations, but the right to time is key for the full transformations. For example, the social transformation, of course, the huge impact that scarcity of time has on our mental health, on stress levels, and then on our physical health, the way we work, the way we organize ourselves, our access to different services. Well, that really depends on you having time and also the missed opportunities regarding other rights. So we need to identify the social transformation and the democratic aspect, because if we do not have an active citizenship willing to be engaged, well, we will not be able to implement transformational Republican projects. Green transformation, we need to rethink mobility. I'm not saying that nothing is being done on that, but we need to rethink the way we move around a city, the way we commute from our homes to our workplace. That's indispensable. And it's not a triangle, as the poet said. The feminist transformation, which is cross-cutting in nature, but it's the foundation of that structure, whatever shape we want to call it. A feminist transformation that must focus on the fight against all inequalities that underpin these time structures that prevent the 99% of the population from leading a fulfilled life, and which mean that women face many more difficulties to have a livable life, as I said at the beginning. So it's not only a matter of time uses and the way we rethink the responsibilities in terms of care work, but also public institutions have adopted this same model of time use when it comes to service provisions. So the foundation of this feminist transformation is to work together on the four transformations at once, and we should work on the cultural transformation for men and women to take part on an equal footing in the distribution of paid and unpaid work. We need to change and rethink care work, and also in terms of public responsibility when it comes to care work. And yeah, it's high time. We're all quite clear about it. We are very committed, and now it's about time that we implemented it. We have a clear vision of time policies as the Catalan government. Since the first advisory council for the time use reform, we have reached several agreements, and it's high time we implemented them. This week, we will present here the Catalan network for the right to time, and also a task force, because it's about implementing the actions that every department and unit can carry out to implement these redistribution of care work and be up to the task. Some examples have already been mentioned. For example, starting schools earlier, which allows us to better sync the different time uses. Well, that's a baby step, only some days, but that's the right direction. And this is, of course, in the educational sphere, but it must happen in other spheres. We need time for care work so that families, and when we say families, and the previous panelists have shared figures, we're talking about women basically. We need women to have free time for themselves. I mean, I'm talking about work-life balance or time to train themselves, to have better job opportunities, or to have time for social and political participation, or to take care of themselves, to rest, and to take part in personal care and socialization spaces. And well, then we have kindergarten, and we need to free up time for women, and let alone the educational benefits and other forms of time that we should take on when we talk about the benefit that was passed a couple of weeks ago. Well, it's a benefit that allows people to overcome a very difficult time. Currently, it's a 3-day benefit. I mean, different public civil servants have, well, 3 days when there is the passing away of a relative, but it's much more than the 3 days. It's acknowledging the grief, acknowledging the pain, and also the several benefits for women. We need to work on this support, which is time to take care of ourselves. As I said, we will present the Catalan network of the right to time, so I will not elaborate on it here in the opening session. But this allows me to link it up with my last remark, which is to value the time use week and the way we work. And both the time use week planning and the Catalan network for the time to the right to time share the following. We want to network. We want the participation of different industries, companies, businesses, unions, organizations, because as I said at the beginning, we're talking about a cultural transformation. So this is not top down, this is bottom up, top down, side to side. And we must start locally and globally, everything at once. And this means that we need to change our mindset, and we must support and work with everyone. We are very proud of Barcelona being the capital of the right to time in this edition, and to chair over the Assembly of Municipalities and Regions for the right to time. But we are very proud that the Time Use Week is decentralized. And let me go back to the beginning. The acknowledgement of a right needs the acknowledgement of the need. We need to call it something. Everyone must relate to the right to time in a tangible manner so that we can implement action. So the fact that it's being held throughout the week and that sessions will be held throughout, well, across Catalonia, focusing on specific topics, highlighting previous experiences, and basically networking to strengthen the movement. That makes us proud, and that's the spirit of the Time Use Week. We want more and more stakeholders to take part in it, and we want that right to be implemented in specific actions for all industries. So we must all work together. And we are aware that there's a long way to go. It's not only about the commitment, and of course, the commitment is there and is shared by all institutions. So now is the time, and we will work with all stakeholders to achieve the cultural transformation. And of course, the bottom part of the triangle is the feminist transformation. Thank you very much.
Bé, doncs amb la
Okay, so with the regional minister's words, we will bring this opening panel to an end. Thank you very much to the panelists for their contributions, and we invite you to be back here at 11 with a session on the right to time, a pending achievement for the 21st century, and then we will have another session on a common plan to end climate change in Europe. Thank you very much. Could you please stay around for a second? We will take a group picture, and all of you, please wait for us outside. We will take a group picture outside too.